Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're back at the roastery. Really exciting to show you a new coffee that we just got from Cafe Granja La Esperanza. It's a really highly regarded coffee from Colombia. They have 5 farms there. This is from Las Margaritas. It's a Pacamara natural, so it's a really fruit-forward coffee since it's a natural. These coffees tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side because they're competition level coffees. So Cafe Granja, they actually submit a lot of their coffees to the competitions to get graded. Also, a lot of brewers from around the world will use their coffees, their geishas. They have an amazing geisha, but they'll use different varieties of their coffee to submit into the coffee competitions. Every year, first place, second place, all the way through top 10, they have one of their coffees being used. So really excited to get this one roasted and see what it tastes like. I can actually smell the green coffee from inside of the bag. It just smells so much different than a lot of the other green coffee that we have. So it's a Pacamara, so it's a different variety than we're used to. A lot of our coffees are Catuai. We have a geisha that's right now, but it's a different type of coffee. So I'm excited to get it into the roaster, see how it roasts. It's gonna be the first time that I've actually roasted a Pacamara. So excited to get that one in, see what it's like, see what roasting profile fits best with it. The bean size is a little bit larger, so we're gonna leave it inside of the roaster for a tiny bit longer, probably shoot for about a 10 to 11 minute roast time, but we'll see as it roasts. Let's get this open. So competition level coffees are new for us. We're gonna start offering more competition level coffees. I think it's exciting as we're going through our coffee journey here to ensure that we're offering the best coffees that are grown. And this is one of the greatest farms in the world. It's probably in at least top 2 or 3 farms in Colombia. So we're excited to offer this. Probably won't ever have a lot of it in stock because it is number one, is very expensive to purchase, but also we're just focusing on the best tasting coffee. So just because it's from one of the greatest growers doesn't mean it's going to be the best tasting coffee. But we're excited to get this one in and really tell you what it tastes like and see if you're interested in trying it. It smells a little alcohol-ish, and you can really get that. I would say if you've ever smelled wine as it's being processed or mashed up, it kind of has that type of smell, kind of the fermentation smell of the grapes from wine. But wow, okay. It's very sweet smelling. Let's get a couple of these beans out there and we'll show you what they look like. We have some coffee beans here. They are a bit more yellow looking, I would say. These are all specialty coffee, so they're not gonna have any defects in them. If anything, we might find one or so, but this is a really highly coveted coffee farm, so very slim chances that you'll find any sort of defects on them. But they look very yellow, and that sometimes will happen in the natural process of coffees, is they'll be a little more yellow. I'm sure you've heard of honey processed coffees or many different types of processing methods. They all will affect kind of the color of the coffee beans, also the varieties. I will say that these varieties here are a bit more pointy. So let's see if we can get this one close up here. It's a little more pointy. I would say in terms of bean size, these are probably on the medium to large size coffee beans. Definitely seen larger and definitely have seen a lot smaller, especially some of the higher elevation Ethiopians that we get. But these are a little bit larger. They're not as fat. They're actually pretty slim, so we may not need to roast them for as long as I typically would on the larger size bean, but we'll see when we get it in the roaster. In terms of smell, I'm really getting an alcohol smell to it, but it's like a sweet alcohol. And what did I just get there? Kind of like brown sugar. Ironic to say, just because I had some earlier. About a day ago, but a coffee cake. It smells like a coffee cake. I know, ironic, but that's what it smells like. Ooh, it's a little brown sugar, a little cinnamon. but at the very end of the smell, at the very end of the scent, you really get an alcoholic smell. Not a harsh alcohol smell, not like a rubbing alcohol, but kind of like a sweeter bourbon smell, which I do prefer. Wow, interesting, cool. So we're gonna get the roaster on, get it warmed up, and then we're gonna roast about 3 pounds of this one. As I'm roasting it, I'm gonna show you behind the scenes what I'm doing as I'm changing the temperature, as I'm changing the loft, and what it's looking like as it's going through the roast. Because this is gonna be a new roast for me. So as I'm sure you're interested, I'm also very interested, and I'm gonna be taking lots of notes. We're gonna track the rate of rise, temperature from the beginning all the way until the end. We're gonna make a lot of notes of this coffee to ensure that we get the best roast possible from it. So let's get it in the roaster. All right, we're about to throw in the new coffee, the new Pacamera Natural from Granja La Esperanza. We're gonna be monitoring it a lot, actually. We're gonna monitor the bean loft, the heat quite a bit as we're going throughout the roast, because it's a new type of variety for us. It's also just a new coffee in general. So when we're usually sampling a new coffee, or we get a new coffee from a different supplier or a different variety in general, we really start to monitor how much the loft we're using and also the heat level that we're going. The size of the bean matters a lot, especially as we're going in blind a bit. There aren't any roast profiles created yet that we can kind of mimic or utilize. So we're gonna use I would say our generic large bean roast profile, and then kind of tweak it as the roast is going on. So make lots of notes of that as it's going throughout the roast. But let's get it in. We'll do lots of monitoring, and let's see how it smells and how it tastes after. After we're done with the roast, we're gonna actually let it sit for about 5 to 7 days, probably more on the 7 days span. And then we're gonna give it a taste, see what we taste in it, and I'm sure it'll be amazing. So, perfect temperature, we're at 130, that's exactly what we're shooting for. Put the loft down a bit, turn that down, we don't want it to go too hot, and let's get it in. All right, first impression of these beans, 15 seconds in, is that they are very heavy. A lot of density to them. It's gonna be interesting as we monitor this. So when we first begin the roast air temperature will start to decrease. As it reaches the bottom of that, it'll start to then decrease pretty drastically. At 1 minute here, we're going to increase the temperature to 6. So far is checking out pretty good. Decrease the loft. Okay. And right at a minute, we are at 171. Cool. What'll be interesting with this coffee is the amount of chaff that's going to come off. It's a natural process coffee. Most of the time when I get a natural process, I get a lot more chaff to them. So we're gonna monitor this one. So far, there's quite a bit coming off. We'll see how it goes throughout the roast. It's so interesting, as we're getting close to the yellowing process. First off, it's a coffee that's already pretty yellow, so pretty ironic, but yellowing process is gonna start. It's gonna be more profound yellow. But I'm getting an interesting smell from it. It smells kind of like tomato juice, so it's a little different. Haven't had that smell before. We'll see what else we get. All right, yellowing phase is fully underway. We're actually getting close to the browning phase. Color looks interesting. Get a little closer. I'm seeing, it looks a little dry. We're gonna monitor that. They look like a dry yellow, dry light brown. So we'll keep this monitored. Temperature seems good. Rate of rise is flowing at the rate that we're looking for. So far, so good. One thing that I'm noticing is that the roast air temp is not increasing. Usually we're about at 475 by now, so I think we're gonna have to increase the heat towards the end a little bit more than we typically would on a larger bean. That's fine, it happens on some beans, but we'll just need to keep monitoring that. It's hard to see the color of the beans right now, but they are in browning phase. It's the most important part of the roasting process, or one of them. As we get to first crack, we'll monitor that some more, but we're at 361 internal bean temperature. All right, we are going to increase heat temperature to 8.5. We are not getting to the temperature we're looking for. Rate of rise is slowing pretty drastically here. Okay. This should be enough, but we're gonna keep monitoring it. All right. First crack should be beginning in less than a minute or so. This is becoming a very long roast. Color of the beans looks good. Probably be pulling this, and it smells really good. Probably pull this in about a minute. All right, we just hit 400 internal bean temp. So what we'll do, as soon as first crack begins, we're gonna turn down the heat just a little bit. We want to extend out first crack as long as possible. And there we go. And first crack at 13 minutes. Color's looking good on the beans. And we're just about to pull it. Right about now. Now these beans expanded pretty drastically. They're very large in size, but they're all pretty uniform, which is great to see. The color looks really good. They look pretty uniform in roast. Don't see any off colors. Don't see any Quakers, which is great. Got one Quaker. Might not even be a Quaker, just one that just looks a little off. We're gonna pull it. Looks like it didn't get the full roast on it. Just looks to be a little off. Didn't get the full roast that we were looking for. Saw one in here, there we go, that had, looks like insect damage, not uncommon in coffee. So we're also gonna pull that one. There's a Quaker. An official Quaker has arrived. Cool. We're gonna get this into one of our bins. All right, we have our new coffee from Granja La Esperanza, all roasted. It's inside of this bin now. I can actually smell it through this bin here. I get a scent of what it smells like, and I'm really getting a nice sweetness to it. I can smell it through here, so let's get it open and get that first kind of smell of it. Oh, wow, yeah. Ooh, a bit of brown sugar sweetness to it. Yeah, even a little bit of nutmeg, which is interesting. So, as I mentioned, these beans are rather large. They really expanded in size as they were roasting, so I'll show you a few of them here. But they were already pretty large on the size of the beans, but they're even larger here. And they're grown at a relatively high level above sea, and so it's quite interesting that they are able to still expand to this size. So yeah, so really interesting size of the coffee beans here. They're rather large. Let me see if I can find, let me grab one of the smaller beans from Ethiopia. Actually, you know what? I roasted some other Colombian. Let's get some beans out from there and we'll compare the size. On the lower portion here, you can see these are the Colombia, I would say normal size beans. These are from Antonio Oidor in Colombia. Regular size beans here. And then we have the really large coffee beans right here. Granja La Esperanza actually has 5 farms. And within those 5 farms, they specialize in different coffees. So one coffee may only have, you know, geishas growing. One will only have Pacamara growing. One will have different types of varieties that they want to specialize in and that they feel grows some of those varieties a little bit better. This coffee farm really focuses on the quality of the beans. They want to produce the highest quality beans. They're only competition level beans, so most of the coffees that they end up growing, they get submitted to either Cup of Excellence or the specific coffee roasters or the brewers will enter them into brewing championships like the Brewing Cup or the Barista Championships in the specific countries that they're in. For example, Lance Hedrick, popular on YouTube, he entered a geisha in, I believe, in 2020 or so. Got 2nd place, I believe. It was from Granja La Esperanza. So really interesting coffee. Really excited to try this. It smells like a coffee I've never smelled before. And that's due, I think, to the variety of it. So it's a Pacamara and also the natural processing. So it's soaking inside of the cherries for a few days. And then they get processed. They actually get put into sealed tanks, but not 100% sealed for a couple of days, which helps the aerobic fermentation process, which still exposes it to natural oxygen. But really interesting smells that I'm getting. Even just standing here as well, I'm still getting more of that kind of sweetness, kind of brown sugar, a little bit more of a baking spice to it. So anyways, wanted to give you guys a little show of the size of the beans, and I'll make another video probably next week when I will cup this and do a brew. I'll do a V60 brew, pour over, and I'll kind of explain what I'm tasting in it. Right now I can already get a sense of what I'm going to taste in it, but we'll do a brew and a cupping, and I'll explain a little bit more about what I'm tasting. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you like these types of videos. We get new coffees all the time. We sample new coffees. This one is a seasonal release, a very small portion of their lot. And I believe it is the Las Margaritas farm, a very small portion of their lot, which I also believe is where they grow their geisha, their competition geisha. That actually won, I believe it won Brewers Cup, was it last year or the year before? It was from Granja La Esperanza, from Las Margaritas farm. This is also where they grow this Pacamara. So I like to do these types of videos where we get some competition level coffees and we roast them and kind of talk about them. So let me know if you like it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, give it a thumbs up, comment any questions that you have. Love answering questions, and I'll see you all in the next video.